ça une autre place, ça change pas mal. Avancez-vous, hein. Luca, go around the other. Okay. We're ready, on est prêt. On est prêt à commencer? Les garçons, merci, allez. Okay. Go ahead, can you introduce yourself?
Good morning, bonjour. My name is Charlie, and I'm with 3Dponics. How are you guys this morning? Good. Everyone's good on a Monday morning. No one's disappointed that the snow's gone?
Yes.
I'm happy. I was looking forward to the snow being here. Well guys, today we're going to learn a little bit about 3Dponics. Now, with a show of hands, who could tell me, or who could show me, who knows what 3Dponics is all about so far? Okay, got a few different people. Perfect, excellent. Okay, so we'll break it down. So we'll take the word 3Dponics and we'll dissect it a little bit. Donc, qui peut me dire c'est quoi l'imprimerie en 3D? What is 3D printing?
It's when you print something and it turns out 3D.
Pretty much.
Mes amis, de l'année passée, vous avez déjà vu la toile dimension imprimante. Donc, vous devriez contribuer. Hein? Petite connexion, vas-y.
Very good, c'est une bonne réponse.
Le 3D printer, it's very expensive and it prints one layer at a time very, very slowly.
Wow, that's just une bonne réponse. That's a really good answer. These are all good answers. I need a few more. Come on now. Yep.
Print stuff in plastic.
In plastic, yeah, very good.
I think it's where you put the materials in and then you search for the object that you want and then it will make that for you.
Precisely, right? So it's taking an object that you want and turning it into reality. Taking a digital version of something and then making it into a physical part. Now, I'll tell you guys something. We were just in San Francisco earlier this week talking to grown adults who own million-dollar companies, and if I were to ask them what 3D printing was, they would not be able to explain it to me just as well as you guys have explained it to me. So I think you guys are way ahead of a lot of the future right now, so I think that's great. Now, 3Dponics is a combination of 3D printing and hydroponics. Now, who can tell me what hydroponics is? I want to see some different hands. C'est quoi l'hydroponique?
Peux-tu parler premièrement à ton ami en coude, peut-être? Let them discuss it first and then share.
Définitivement. If you guys want to talk about it amongst yourselves
Because
first.
I'm thinking out there with some
Hydro is electricity. Phonics is hydroelectricity.
Well, hydro is electricity formed with water, which, as seen right there, it kind of looks like it's formed with water.
Yeah, it's the pump. It pumps it up and then it just goes around. It's like
Yeah, and then the water just...
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Donc, chaque équipe doit avoir une réponse. Okay?
Okay. Who wants to start? Okay, let's go.
Hydro is like water, so it has to do with water.
Yeah, that's very good. Absolutely.
Maybe it's like a so hydroponics, I'm guessing, hydro is water, and ponics maybe just something like a system where like to do with water, so maybe 3Dponics means 3D water system.
Pretty much, yeah. A 3D water system, that's very good.
I was going to say mostly what you said, but I think it has something to do with reducing the amount of water used in homes and also using more water that we have.
Well, being effective at managing our resources is definitely a big part of hydroponics, absolutely. Now, hydroponics essentially is growing plants or growing vegetation without the use of soil, right? So it is using water and making something work, and by reducing the amount of resources that we're using. So just to give you an example, when plants or vegetables are growing in the soil, what are the roots doing in the ground? Does anyone know? What are the roots doing?
They're absorbing nutrients from the ground.
Exactly, right? They're absorbing nutrients from the ground. So they're kind of, the roots are squirming around, looking for nutrients. They find the nutrients, they grab them, and then they bring them back up to the plant so that the plant could grow and that the vegetables can grow nice and strong. Now, with hydroponics, you remove the soil entirely and you feed the plant with nutrients right away. So the plant spends zero energy searching out those nutrients. All that energy is converted into growth. So what does it do? It reduces its own energy by spending it on growing and maximizing its yield. So 3Dponics is essentially a hydroponic system that's made using 3D printed parts. I'll explain it to you guys a little bit. So by using a few components, right? So plastic bottles, which, how many people here have had one of these in their lifetime? Right? Now, how many people just take them and toss them into the recycle bin? Or garbage? My mom used to just toss them into the garbage, but now I recycle at home. So using a few recyclable parts like bottles, and using things that we have at home, like a coat rack, like an extra, has anyone seen these before? Kind of air pumps for fish tanks. You know, they kind of blow bubbles into the water, right? Some of us have these lying around. How many people have seen these zip ties lying around in your dad's workshop, right? Or just at home. So using a few parts that we just have lying around, and using 3D printed parts, which we're going to show you in a bit, you can build your own hydroponic system to grow fruits, vegetables, and plants using a minimum amount of energy. Now, why do you think this is such a good idea? Now, you guys are the future, so I want you guys to think about it a little bit. You could talk about it amongst yourselves, but pourquoi est-ce que c'est important qu'on puisse pousser notre manger avec un minimal montant d'énergie?
Bon, parle en équipe.
It's good.
Des plantes, des légumes,
Run out of oil and energy. The zip ties aren't really attached to anything for the design. They're just like hanging from the sky. Plants just hanging from the sky.
No, look, those are hook right here.
From the 3D printable. Do you think that's
Well,
going to be
just
there
draw
when you're
roots.
building it?
Just draw roots.
Coat rack or whatever.
bien des idées.
But then let's figure it out. They're going to get
I can also see the bottom of it.
I'm sure the water comes out of this.
J'ai des bonnes conversations ici.
Where's water?
I'm pretty sure it's the bag.
And it keeps coming up.
So it goes I can't really see the bottom, but I can see a bottom.
You can do it as minus 50 degrees.
So the water drips in the air, and then it just continues going through the cycle.
Well, you remember that fish tank? Maybe the fish tank thing is resting at the bottom.
Because plants don't always absorb all the water that they're given, so it's just keep on dripping through all the plants until it gets here, and then it goes through the tubes and it gets pumped up there.
I'm hearing a lot of great ideas.
It's a cycle.
Do like a dish, and then there would be like a bowl on the side, and then there would be a
Cycle of growing plants.
I'm gonna lay it on.
Great. So increasing food production, as she said, will first of all help making better food, like organic food, free of pesticides and GMOs and other things that are put into our foods, and will bring down the price, bring down the cost. That's important, right? Everyone likes things being a little cheaper, right? Okay, that's a great answer.
A bit what she said, but I was thinking that it would help poor people afford the food, and that they won't use chemicals to grow the food, which makes it.
Absolutely. So also, in addition to making food cheaper, we have this ability to make all this food available to people who don't have it, right? So thinking outside of the box and being more community oriented. These are fantastic ideas.
And you can do it any time of the year.
Any time of the year, right? So
You don't just have to do it in summer or August.
now in Canada, that's important, right? Because we get winter, 6 months out of the year? And then the rest of it is fall, summer, spring. So we need to be able to maximize food production for ourselves and for other people. Absolutely.
And fresh food is a lot better than store-bought food because who knows how long the food can stay.
Fresh. How many people agree with that? That fresh food is better than store-bought food? I agree with that. Absolutely.
It also can stop global warming because if you grow your own food, you don't really need plastic, and then you can make biostores.
Okay, so that's a really interesting point, that it could stop global warming, or on a bigger scale, it could help reduce harm to the environment, reduce harm to the ozone layer, and improve our overall planet. How many people agree with that? Absolutely. Now you've had your hand up.
It's better and you can grow it anytime in the year, and it's organic because in Canada we have winter and we can't grow anything, so we'll have to get imported stuff, and they use chemicals to have the imported stuff stay fresh, so we can get organic stuff here by using the 3Dponics.
Absolutely, yeah. These are all great ideas.
I think it also helps reduce pollution.
Help increase?
Reduce.
Reduce pollution, absolutely.
You say for
That's
sorry,
perfect.
fast. You don't.
Just a few more?
Save for the
I
time.
think it would increase the amount of people, like a lot of people can't have gluten, or they can't have certain things that have certain chemicals. So increase the amount of food that those people need.
So safer, healthier foods for everyone, right? Perfect.
It decreases the amount of garbage that goes into the landfills.
Yeah, it helps to reduce the amount of, that's a good one. It reduces the amount of garbage that goes in the landfills because we're reusing parts a lot longer until they degrade, absolutely.
Also, like, since it will get cheaper, more people will put it like maybe in the food bank or other like donations.
Absolutely, so donations, so all really, really good things. Now the beauty about hydroponics or 3Dponics for the future is that, well, first of all, we believe that 3D printers, although they're very expensive now, I remember someone saying that earlier, they're not going to be very expensive in the future. I remember, oh boy, 20-something years ago when my family got our first printer at home. It was an old dot matrix printer. Does anyone remember dot matrix printers? You couldn't do images, so think about that. You couldn't print digital images. It was long, it did one thing at a time. You could only do ASCII characters. It was terrible. It was this big, it cost a lot. The ink in the printer cost even more, and it was terrible. 5 years later, they started rolling out with inkjet printers, and it started becoming more and more affordable. The quality started getting better and better. And now you could pretty much print anything right out of your car if you wanted to. So there's add-ons that you could plug right into your cigarette lighter component. I mean, it's excellent. So what we see is that 3D printers are going through that same process. Right now they're big, they're expensive, they're slow, they're kind of clunky, but they still work. And in 5-10 years from now, they're going to get smaller, cheaper, and way better. Which means that all of us at home could print parts that we need, which will mean it's less money for us to spend at stores. We're becoming more reliant on ourselves. We're becoming more reliant on technology and on designing and on thinking outside the box. And I see that not being a problem for you guys whatsoever. And then the next big thing about 3Dponics is being able to be in control of the food that you grow, right? And being able to grow food yourself at virtually no cost. So that's a question. How much do you guys think it costs to run one 3Dponics system, so one system like this? How much do you think it costs to run every month? Please discuss it amongst yourselves and come back with the price.
En équipe entre nous. Combien ça va coûter?
Just saying,
Depending on the amount of seeds.
like I know, like if we use like
Let's go.
well, if you think about how much expensive water is, it's really cheap for us. Water's really cheap for us. So like if you use like 30 gallons, we're like paying like $2.
Est-ce que tu as unité en général?
And if you're using power's also great. So if you're using only power for the pump, it saves you a lot of money. You only need to add water in.
Les bouteilles d'eau break down.
Peut-être tu dois
It's a cycle.
And now to complete the job.
Ok les amis, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cool, that actually worked. Ok, donc, combien pensez-vous qu'un système de 3Dponics, combien un système coûte par mois à fonctionner toujours? $7. $40. Zéro. Ambitieux. 50. 50. Zero. So you got 2 zeros.
$5.
$5. So close to the 7. 5 ou 10. Okay. Yeah. $5. Okay, so did you guys answer? Sorry.
3 to 5.
3 to 5. Okay, narrowing it down. So right now, as it stands, what it costs to run a 3Dponics system, one 3Dponics system, just like this, for 1 month, and it runs 24/7, is just $2.43. That's one system. Think about that. $2.43 to grow 1, 2, 3, 4 tomato plants year round. Now, that's incredible. Don't you guys think? See, because the beauty about the 3Dponics system is that we don't use high energy water pumps, right? So we use actually an air pump. So what it does is it actually blows air instead of pumping water, which means it takes up a lot less energy. Now, the secret to make this pump only operate at $2.43 per month comes from a 3D printed part. Looks just like this. Okay, this is the magic sauce right here. You guys want to get what you guys want to get on this. So how it started, and as you can see in the diagram, it kind of looks like this. It's a fork, pretty much. It's called a conduit. Okay? So I want you guys to write that down. Write down conduit. Conduit. Comme un chat. Conduit.
What's the other one?
So this is completely hollow, which means that you can blow inside of it and air will come out. What you do is you connect tubes from the air pump into these two sections over here, and it blows air. You put it inside of your water container, which I'm going to bring up over here. Okay. So how often on a monthly basis do you guys think you have to change this water for your plants? Once a week?
Like once every day.
Once a month.
Once a month, that's it. Think of it like that, once a month. Every month you change your water. Now, what did we talk about earlier with hydroponics? Is that it gives what to the plants?
Nutrients.
Nutrients, exactly, nutrients. So where do you think the nutrients go?
Down on.
Inside the water, right? So the water is filled with nutrients. And nutrients you could pick up in a number of different stores, but they come in different sizes, different types, different kinds. And essentially it's food for plants. You put it inside the water reservoir, which is filled with water, and then you connect your tubes into here, and then you place this inside the water. There's another tube that comes up from the top, as you can see in the diagram. And James is going to set up a system shortly, and you'll be able to see how it works. But this tube connects all the way to the top part of the plant. So the air bubbler pumps air in, and then creates suction, where one drop of water, which is filled with nutrients, goes to the very top, drips into the top pod, down into the next pod, into the next pod, into the next pod, and then back into this tank. So you're recycling the same water and nutrients over and over again. It is pretty cool, right? So when you think of it, on its own, it takes $2.43 to operate this for 24/7 in a monthly basis. You only get to change this once a month. I mean, how easy is that? How easy is it to grow your own fruits and vegetables now inside? Right? Pretty awesome. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Do you think it's possible to make this $2.43 operation even cheaper?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, how? Talk about it amongst yourselves. How can you make this even cheaper?
You could do stuff that helps the stuff.
Cat, 3, 2, 1. Super bilingual. All right, who wants to start?
It could be something that works, but it's not the best kind of.
Okay, so you mean there's an alternative to the air pump? Okay, good. Of course, there's always something. There's always better ideas. We're not the brightest. That's what we come to schools. We come here to get your ideas because you guys are way smarter than us.
You would only get one bottle and then 3 different.
Okay, so you can make it cheaper by reducing the amount of things that you buy. Sure, that's a good idea.
Make this one. Make this one.
Make this thing smaller. Okay.
Make it smaller.
Make this smaller. That's a good idea.
Reuse the seeds that's produced by the plants.
Okay, yeah, so we're thinking all about the system, and I think that's really good. You guys are coming up with great ideas. Yeah, checking the coupons for sales of items on stores. Absolutely. You know, my girlfriend is a pro at finding things on sale. The other day, I was in the grocery store with her, and I found something that was 99 cents on sale. I thought I was being good. I picked it up, and she's like, whoa, what are you doing? Look at this. 88 cents on sale. The same thing, cheaper. So it's good to find things on sale. But what if I were to tell you,
What's on the roof of the school?
what if I were to tell you that you don't have to plug this in?
Solar panels?
But they don't work.
What if you could run it off of a, what if you could run it off of a, what's those things that windmill, right? So there's other forms of energy other than just the current that you could plug in your wall. What's the best part about the sun and what's the best part about the wind? It's free, right? It comes up every day, it's reliable, never shuts down, and it's free. So think about it. So in our office, guys, we actually took an air pump and we have been able to make it run off of a solar panel, which means that it costs us $0 to operate. And the best thing is that one air pump can actually power 2 systems. So think of it. So instead of just powering one system for $2.43 a day, you're powering 2 systems and at no cost. So do you guys agree with me that the idea behind 3Dponics, using 3D printed parts, recyclable components, and using very little energy to make food for ourselves and for our community is a great idea? Now, how many people want to learn right now how to put one of these things together?
Me?
All right. So I'm going to introduce you my friend James, and he's going to show you how to assemble a 3Dponics system. So give him a round of applause.
So, you guys are all super excited to be building these systems, and that's what we love to hear. And it's super duper easy to do it. I'm going to work my way through this. I've never done it in front of so many faces watching before, so let's hope I don't stumble and cut my hand open or something silly. So it's very important that this type of thing, you need a pair of scissors. Is preferable, but an X-Acto knife does work too. But we always have to remember that when we're using sharp knives, we have to be careful. Safety is important. It's good to have an adult with you because these types of things can have accidents sometimes, right? So bear with me as I have to cut open these bottles. I was trying not to make too much noise during the presentation, but everyone's already seen that we're 2-liter bottles away from growing our own food, right? So here is the basic ingredients. We have all the 3D printed parts on the table, and I'll hold them up as we go along. But I'm just going to start by cutting the bottles here, and you can see I have them turned upside down in cups. Now you'll see why in a little while. It's just a lot easier to turn a bottle upside down because they don't stand by themselves, so that's what the cups are all about. So as we cut the bottles, you can make them as tall or as short as you like. You can use whatever size bottles that you want. Some people have smaller pop bottles. They don't like the big 2-liter ones. And it really depends on what kind of plants you're growing. Because if you want to grow a really big vegetable plant, sure, you need a bigger pot, right? But if you're just growing, let's say, some mint or some whatever types of herbs that your parents like to use. So it's important to remember, too, that even though we are using recycled bottles, I heard you guys have the boomerang program. All plastic does get recycled, right? So even the parts that we're recycling, the recycled parts, it's important to make sure that we're not using too much waste, right?
Now, why do you guys think we keep those sleeves, the labels on the bottle?
So it's like protection from the water to get out.
Well, it's
It gives like really small little hole. It can help keep the water.
You got part of it. It's protection. But think about when plants are in the soil, and the roots are in the soil. What are they protected from?
They have
Shade. Yeah, they're protected from the sun, right? So in the same thing with hydroponics, you still need to protect the root system. So it's good to have some type of shield around the bottles, whether it's a label or whether you make one yourselves. That's a lot prettier than than those ones. It's important to protect them.
So we're going to make some holes in the sides of these bottles, and that's just to attach the zip ties so we can hang everything together. So like Charlie was saying about the labels and the sunshine, like it's very important that, remember, we're taking the plants out of their regular situation of being in dirt. So we have to remember that things like roots that are usually underground need to be protected from the sun, right? So I've got my 2 holes in the side here. We have our 3D printed parts. I have the threads right on the inside, so it makes the beautiful part about 3D printed parts is they're so customizable, and you can any need that you have, you can adjust the parts to be what you need, right? So the fact that we can screw them on and off just adds to the recyclability of it. So if you want to make a 100-foot high system, nothing's stopping you, right? So they screw right onto the end like this. And I'll just here. And these are kind of gray and boring, but there's a few you can see here are brightly colored, and the beautiful thing about 3D printing is you have the option. If your living room is orange, print in orange. If your living room is green, print in green, right?
So what do you guys think? So far, pretty easy?
Like, we're talking arts and crafts here. If I thought your parents wouldn't be able to do it, like, how could we ask you guys to do it, right? So now we have our bottles, and all our lids are good to go. One of the beautiful things, like I was saying about 3D printing, is everything is customizable. Charlie showed you the conduit. Those are the nozzles. That's all you need to run the system. Some nozzles and the conduit and your pump and your water, and you're good to go. But because we're protecting roots, because there's so many different options we have with our 3D printer, we can make accessories. So this is exactly the same type of job that the label's doing, but it's also made on a 3D printer.
And it's strong enough, it won't break when it drops.
So we, having 3D printers, being able to make anything that we want, can make these beautiful covers that not only can make it any beautiful color that you like, will also protect the roots from the sunshine. So we have a few of these, so we'll just add them into the system. So like that. So when we're taking dirt out of the equation, we have to replace it with something, right? So because of the way the system works, dripping through to other things, if you put dirt in it, it's going to clog up the whole works. So you have to make sure that you use something that works for plant roots as well as for water drainage. So what we have here is a grow medium, is what it's called in the hydroponic world. There are lots of different things you can use: cocoa coir, gravel. These are clay balls. The idea is that it holds a certain amount of water so the roots can cling to it and absorb that nutrients and water, but at the same time it allows the water to pass through. So what that means is, because it's always watering, because it's always dripping and flowing through, first, it's always watering, so you never have to worry about it. Second, it will never dry out because it's always watering, right? So that just involves how many people have had their plants, their house plants. Your mom forgot to water them 1 week and then it ends up dead, and then you're like, oh, I forgot to water it. So we're just removing that type of work from the equation. It's so much easier this way, right?
So that would be a kind of inquiry. What other materials could you use here that would absorb water and keeps the water absorbed? So it's something we can think of.
I want at least one suggestion from each group, so talk amongst yourselves, and we'll
What
be back
could
to
be
it.
other materials?
Sand. Same. Not.
Or you can put a hole in the ceiling. Or you can put a hole in the ceiling. Which your dad will let you do. Be fun. I learned to use a drill at home cheap.
So it's good to keep the distance between the end of your drip nozzle and the next plant kind of small, because the bigger the space is, the longer that water has to drop. And we're always trying to avoid things like leaks and drips on the floor, right? So the closer it is to the next spot, the easier it's going to be for the water to find where it needs to go. So now, this looks just like the picture, doesn't it? How close are we to being done? Wow, look at how fast this goes. And we're going to get our air pump. You can use all sorts of different kinds of air pumps, different brands. Some of them have speed settings, some of them are expensive and fancy, some of them are super simple. So just like our growing medium and just like our bottles, you have tons of options. So we're going to take the air line here that I've pre-cut for ease. I'm going to attach it to the air pump. And now, like Charlie was saying, the conduit, right? The magic piece that makes that all happen. Now we've got two different things that do exactly the same job, because with all the young minds that are working on this all the time, every single person who builds one is giving us new ideas, right? So we have the original piece, which works great, but we also have this piece, which is something that was designed recently, but it does the same job at twice as much efficient. So instead of needing two air lines, one on each side, now we only need one. And that's because of bright young minds like you guys throwing your amazing ideas at us all the time. So we're going to use the new one because I know it works a little bit better. Now, this is an optional kind of bit. You don't necessarily need one, but it does make life a lot easier sometimes. It's a bamboo stick. It's just going to hold, like in this picture right here, it just holds the air line to make life a little bit easier for the water to get straight up.
not at all, sir. So you just plug the tube right into the, what is it called again? Conduit. And you plug it into the section where there's a hole through the bottom. Now why is that?
So the water can get through?
Yeah, exactly, right? Because what we're doing is we're going to blow air into this other piece, and by blowing air that's deep inside the water, it's going to create a suction that's going to bring up the water. The water is filled with what again? Nutrients. And it's going to bring the water all the way up to the top into the top plants, and it's going to do what? It's going to fill it up and do, it's going to drip.
Down and down.
And drip and drip, and where does it drop back into at the very end?
Back in.
Back in.
And then it goes back up.
So what does it do? It recycles, right? So do we just dip it inside? What do you guys think?
Unless you suck it
Yeah, we just do it. We just dip it inside. That was a trick question. We need the other.
Then how are you going to pump it?
So the one line that we've already put in goes up to the top. The other hole on the top is for the air line from the pump. And she goes. Alright, so like I was saying before with our drips, we have to remember the water's coming straight down, so we have to either keep our jug underneath, or you get a hose here that can attach to the bottom of the nozzles. And that's a design thing that we've changed too, just as added on as needed. We discovered that it's a lot easier to not drip all over the floor if we can put a little hose on here.
Now, do you guys think there's a better way to make this work than using an old piece of hose? Do you think that there's a way that we could make a 3D printed part that screws on to the very end, like drips in? What do you guys think? So it'd be cool if you guys could come up with a design, and then we'll design it for you guys, and we'll print it out in 3D. Because the tube is great, it works well, but it would be great if we didn't have to use another piece of material, something that we could just print really cheaply. So one of the things about this system, and I hear someone, my girlfriend, for example, does not want this in my house. Why do you think it is? Looks messy, right? It doesn't match our decor. So one of the things that you can do, the beauty about this is that you can make it look however you want. Right? This is the basic system. This is how it basically works. But if you guys could come up with a better way or a nicer way, that's all the better. So you guys are encouraged to make this system better. That's your job, is to take this. We know this system works because we grow tomatoes and basil in our office year round. We just want to make it look nicer.
You can paint it, you can cover it in paper, there's so many.
I have a design for the let's go down on
Well, what's your idea? Let's hear it.
So if you have so up there, like you just connect it to the nozzle, and then the other one, so you have a piece that connects to the bottle, but it leaves a small opening for the bamboo stick and the pump airline to get out.
Exactly, and that's a wonderful idea. And like exactly the same as you can use so many different things, you don't have to use a jug this big. There's a certain size that you need because of the water and the nutrients for the plant, but you can change the bottle. The ones at the office actually have exactly what you're saying. They have a hole cut in the side for the tube to go in. It makes it a lot easier for everything to be in one place. And on top of that, the bamboo stick, we use a bamboo stick because it looks nice, it goes well with the system, but we also have 3D printed parts that stack and just make a beautiful adjustable size rod. And what happens is you put the airline through the middle of it because it's hollow. So there's always these improvements we can make, and it's an excellent idea to be able to do that. So now, we're done. wasn't hard. Was practically just a walk in the park, wasn't it? Now, I'm going to turn the system on. It might need a bit of adjustment, but we're probably going to be dripping in about 10 seconds.
Ok, tu vas entendre. Voilà, on entend. Silence pour mieux entendre.